small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we have Bob Savage with us.
We have Bob Savage here. Hi, everybody. Kind of a gloomy old Monday.
It is, yeah. It is a little gloomy today, but I tell you what, Friday was absolutely amazing.
Yep, spectacular. But we're getting that fall-type weather, and it's about time for that to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I, every time fall comes in, it just, I love the smells. It reminds me of hunting season. That's always my favorite part of fall, just kind of the wet leaves. And, of course, the colors are great, too. But just the whole environment reminds me of being in the woods.
The smell that I miss most in fall, and, of course, people of my generation will know what I'm talking about, the smell of burning leaves. Because we all used to burn our leaves.
Yeah.
Back when we weren't worried about, the new Green Deal or the Green New Deal, everybody would rake their leaves up against the curb along the street, and you'd set fire to them. And you stood there with a rake and you tended the fire. But, you'd drive through these fragrant clouds of burning leaves. It was just a great smell.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now I think what happens is you still bring them to the front, and then the city or the town, they come and just vacuum them up for you.
Yeah, the great big huge vacuum thing that basically turns it into powder.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if there's any type of environmental study that actually shows whether that's actually better for the environment, because now they're fueling a vehicle driving around, and the vehicle has emissions, and then I'm assuming they probably compost it afterwards, right? Is that what they do?
I have no idea. That would be a good question. Like the Channel 10 guys, they got that good question thing they do on Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that would certainly be a question that I'd be interested in knowing about anyways.
Anyway, so those are the smells of fall, and speaking of smells, we can talk about things from Albany.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could. You have anything specific on your mind, Bob?
Well, yeah, we got a town hall story here dated today and written by Ellie Bufkin. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio have lost another major tax revenue stream as one of the city's largest and wealthiest hedge funds has announced they're moving to Florida. Reportedly due to uncertainty caused by the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic, but I'm sure also because of fiscal policies and the chaos of New York City. Billionaire New York Paul Singer said this week he'll be moving his $41 billion hedge fund Elliott Management to West Palm Beach. Only a small office with a few staffers will remain in the Big Apple. This announcement serving as only the latest example of wealthy New Yorkers abandoning the state for more freedom and lower taxes amid crushing rules and lockdowns imposed by our wonderful elected leaders in New York State. With ongoing lockdowns and destroyed small businesses, the unemployment rate in New York for September 2020 was a staggering 14.1%. OMG, significantly higher than the national unemployment rate of 7.9%. Great going, Cuomo and de Blasio. They've both been sharply criticized for their stifling orders that have squashed small businesses and prompted residents to flee New York City. The loss of taxable income due to the pandemic in New York City expected to reach $2 billion for 2020, a figure that was estimated prior to Singer's announcement.
Wow.
Quote, even as the city has contained the spread of the virus, it's been unable to exert control over its threat to the economy, the New York Times wrote last month. Numerous economic indicators suggest New York City will face an extended financial crisis, the likes of which has not been seen since the 1970s. Isn't that great? Cuomo
Yeah, that's
joked in
not
August he
good.
would offer to cook dinner for his wealthy friends, planning on abandoning New York. Guess you didn't get through to Mr. Singer there, head case. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's the worst part about this is when Governor Cuomo addresses this, if he does, I'm sure he won't, but maybe he will. When he does, he will certainly blame the federal government and say that it was the federal government's response to COVID. And he will not acknowledge in any way, shape, or form that he's the one in charge. He's the one shutting things down. He's the ones signing budgets with these huge deficits that require so much of our tax dollars to keep up and running, and that this is the reason that people are leaving New York.
yeah, and also because he wants the federal government to, he's following on the model of Detroit. He wants the federal government to bail out New York City and New York State because of, years of deficit spending and spending money on, idiotic, I can quote, finger quotes, economic development projects, which basically are just slush funds for his wealthy buddies, like the Buffalo Billion. And that's where all the corruption scandals all came from over there in Western New York. The Buffalo Billion, a cruel misnomer because nowhere near $1 billion was spent on that solar panel plant. I always say, a solar plant in Buffalo, New York, it's like that movie in the 1990s, Cool Runnings, where they had the Jamaican bobsled team, and nobody took the Olympic team seriously because where would a Jamaican, train for with a bobsled? There's no snow in Jamaica. There's also no hills in Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah. I've never been there. I didn't know they don't have hills. Is it all flat land?
Well, yeah, it's a volcanic island in the Caribbean. Not a lot of snow. Not a lot. Well, I guess I take that back. They may have hills and they may have mountains. There could be a volcanic cone, I suppose. But I mean, there's no snow.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense.
So where do you practice? I mean, everybody, Jamaican bobsled team. That's a joke. No, it wasn't a joke. They really did have a bobsled team. But the joke still, there's still no punchline for Cuomo's joke over in Buffalo, where the only development that took place there was the building of this massive plant at enormous expense.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And I just happened to glance over here at our live stream. For those of you who are listening to the show and maybe you can't make it every day, you can catch the live stream and the replays on YouTube. And I see Will actually commented in. I think Will's onto something here. Maybe it's bad weather. Maybe that's why they're moving, Bob.
Will, you wacky guy. That's one of Cuomo's excuses is bad weather.
Oh. Yeah, and I know Will, and Will is certainly poking fun here at the governor because Governor Cuomo has multiple times tried to dodge responsibility for what we're up beyond 1 million people leaving the state at this point. And he'll be like, no, people aren't leaving because of the failed economy. They're not leaving because of bad regulations and red tape that makes it hard for businesses to conduct business. They're moving because of the weather.
Sadly, I think that process is going to accelerate because with this budget deficit that is looming, the tax, the property tax consequences are going to be enormous. I'm trying to remember which county it was. I think it was Genesee County that just announced an 87% increase in the tax rate.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
87%.
It's not the first one I've heard. Yeah. No,
right,
you're right.
Where's and at the same time, I mean, in Livingston County, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Dave Lefevre, and Ian Coyle, who's the county administrator, have had joint press conferences in the last week announcing that they're going to lose a lot of tax revenue from the state because what Andrew has done is reduce there's a program, the acronym for which escapes me right now, where the state returns sales tax revenues to municipalities, to towns and villages, to help them pay their bills. And now what's happening is Headcase is saying Well, that sales tax revenue, towns and villages, you got to get that from your local county. Well, the county doesn't have it because it used to come from the state. So where's the county supposed to get it? So it's just, and now what he'll do is if the services get curtailed in the towns and villages and the taxpayers are unhappy about it, he'll just blame the counties.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this just goes on and on and on. Oh man, we could talk about mismanagement of our economy, mismanagement of our budget, our tax dollars, everything, for a real long time. To be honest, it's really frustrating, extremely frustrating. As somebody who loves living in New York State, just really don't like the government here in New York State. It's a big problem. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about fear securing obedience and that in relation to COVID-19. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Bob Savage here, and somebody passed along an article to me on a website called Mercola.com. Bob, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with that site at all?
Maricola? No.
No, yeah, I wasn't either. So I checked out this article. It was about fear securing obedience. And, one of the first things I did looking up this website is I wanted to know kind of a little bit of background about who writes it and you know, the articles, have they been fact checked and things like that. And some of the things I did find was some of the fact checkers said that this website, although most of the articles are written by a doctor, that there have been misleading medical advice in the fact checker. So we're not going to talk about medical advice today because the content that I want to talk about is in light of COVID-19, how politicians and other people in power have been using fear as a motivator to secure obedience of our population. And I think that this is important to talk about and kind of emphasize. And there's some interesting stuff in here I want to share with you guys. And especially coming up on elections, I think it's also really important to emphasize that those in political power or trying to get into political power are very much aware of this, which is why elections have really shifted from voting for who the best person is to being. Instead, it's shifted to preventing somebody else from getting elected. So, the difference being from before, you could run a campaign and the campaign could be, here are the good things that I'm going to do for you. And if we were really lucky, they might even say how and present a plan. Whereas today it's switched to vote for me because the other guy is so bad and awful. And this is how he's going to, ruin your life or ruin your job or destroy the economy or whatever it happens to be. And we see this in like every political race. This isn't just presidential, you see it in congressional and Senate and just, all across the board. You're seeing this shift away from positivity, away from hope, away from making any sort of legitimate promises to people. And it's shifting in this direction of you should be very, very, very afraid.
The boogeyman narrative.
Yep, absolutely.
The political candidate hiding under your bed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at American society today and you look at things like social media and the news, everything surrounds politics or coronavirus at this point. So I thought it was pretty interesting. The author leads out with a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt, which is, "The only thing that we have to fear is fear itself."
Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that this is something that I'm watching people around me, and not necessarily people that I'm exceptionally close to, but I see a lot of people paralyzed in fear in their daily lives, and they're starting to do things, and have been for months and months and months now, do things that they would never normally do as a result of this fear. And so it's a very interesting experience to look at. And there was a quote in here that I thought a few things I wanted to share with you guys as we kind of like walk into this discussion. One of the things that they emphasize is that today we have something as a part of our lives that no other tyrant has ever had, and that is the technology to track, trace, control, and manipulate individuals regardless of where they are. We have things like social media, we have things like smartphones, we have these apps that almost always request your location. And then when you switch from app to app, they're sharing information with each other and also with the government to allow tracing of where you're going. And now with COVID has become just kind of that perfect excuse for government to say, well, we need to trace every single person. And they give what sounds like to some people a logical reason. They say, yeah, well, it's to make sure if one person gets infected, we know what other people were infected so that we can control the spread.
Yeah, that's bunk. It's tracing you for the sake of tracing you. You think that when COVID goes away that that this infrastructure is going to be dismantled?
Definitely not. definitely not going to happen. They are not going to let go of it. It's not going to happen. And you can see this already with Cuomo holding on to his emergency powers and how he is not by any means letting go of them. And he will not. He's going to carry this through till the next election for sure. And I see, Will on YouTube here. He says, this is a better excuse than terrorism, and he's right.
Oh no, it's much more universal because it touches everybody, and it hits the vulnerable populations, which tweaks the emotional heartstrings as well too. But it's really perverse because if you think about this, it intersects very neatly with, quote, the need for a vaccine, unquote. Well, vaccines, as we know, are a mixed blessing. They can be really great. I think there's been one really persuasive example of that in medical history, and those were the vaccines against rabies, which were tremendously successful. But even the rabies vaccines, polio is what I'm trying to think. Did I say rabies before? I meant polio.
Yeah.
No. The rabies is for the four-legged kids. The polio vaccines of the 1950s, but that was still never made mandatory. Yeah. And now, if we are going to intersect, vaccines for COVID with the contact tracing and the surrender of personal liberties, it's very easy to see where this leads. Your civil rights are going to be curtailed by whether or not you've had the vaccine, you've chosen to take the vaccine or not. Maybe you won't be allowed to travel. Maybe you won't get that job, or you won't be admitted to the college of your choice if you don't get your COVID vaccine. And
absolutely.
And then the contact tracing that goes along with that.
Yeah, and that is a fear that many people have right now. Or later on in this article, they cited a few sources where Americans have been polled and asked if a COVID-19 vaccine becomes available, do they intend to take that vaccine? 49% of respondents said no, not going to take it, don't want to take it. And so if government desires to push this, if they want to maintain that control, then it's very easy for them to say, okay, you can't enter this government building without proof of vaccine.
Right. Yeah, you have to have your little vaccine proof card that you'll have to carry with you. This is really problematic because, as we all know, vaccines are never 100%, comprehensive, preventative measures. They can be very good. They can be, but look at our experience with flu, which is another viral. Flu is a coronavirus. Yeah. It's just that this is COVID-19. It's actually SARS-CoV-2, I think is is the technical name for it. But vaccines, early on in the fight against AIDS and HIV, the research focused on development of a vaccine, but very quickly morphed over to therapeutics as a much more effective, comprehensive, flexible, and safe alternative. I would suspect that we're going to find therapeutics are also going to be the best way to fight COVID-19 as well, even though I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the radio. But if we focused on therapeutics as opposed to this magic bullet in the form of a vaccine, I think we're going to really make headway against COVID a lot faster.
Yeah, and one thing I want to emphasize too is, as we're having this discussion, none of us really know if this vaccine will be mandated or not. But the way it's being talked about by elected officials, the way they've shut down the economy, the way they've put all these restrictions and regulations on people, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Well, they're definitely testing they're floating the trial balloon to see what the
absolutely.
public, and look how people have gone out and embraced this mask notion. People are much more effective at enforcing the face mask mandate than the government ever could be. You get mask shamed in the grocery store.
Yep. No, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that. Once we come back from the break, we're going to talk about censorship and propaganda and how they're two strategies to shape and mold the population. But there's actually multiple other ones I want to go over with you guys. And it's going to sound really, really familiar. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Because you're not sheep. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, we are looking at cloudy skies, maybe a brief shower, a little drizzle, some fog, damp, temps near 40. Tuesday, kind of cloudy out there, still a couple of showers around. Best chance of rain will be late in the afternoon, early evening. Another cool day in the 40s to near 50 degrees. On Wednesday, a little bit better. Chance of some sunshine, drier in the low 50s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
This fall is a great time to shop at Victor Chevrolet. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Winter driving will be safe and fun when you lease a 2020 Equinox front-wheel drive LS. Just $179 a month for 24 months. Or enjoy the security of a tough and roomy 2021 Blazer LS. Lease for only $139 a month for 24 months. Lease a 2020 Chevy Trax LS all-wheel drive for just $98 a month for 24 months.
For Equinox, Trax, or Trailblazer, must have current lease and household. $2,500 cash or trade. First payment, tax, acquisition, and DMV fees are all due at signing for all leases.
Prefer to buy? Save big when you buy a 2019 Trax LT all-wheel drive with convenience package, power drive seat, and keyless entry and start. MSRP $26,145.
Selling for only $19,215.
$229 a month for 84 months with approved credit. This fall, find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit victorchevrolet.com. Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Comfort, care, and convenience. When it comes to improving the quality of your life, that is exactly what you get with Isaac. Whether it's a new furnace installation or emergency repair, we've streamlined the process of providing the service you need. At Isaac, when you need us, we'll be there, expertly handling a job from start to finish. That's what matters to us, because it quickly gets you back to what matters to you. Get ready now for colder weather with a Lennox furnace installed for no payments, no interest until 2021. Call Isaac or visit isaacheating.com.
Gift list ready? Advantage Visa card ready? Get set, go! Start shopping and earning extra bonus points on your everyday purchases and when you make your way through your gift lists. Through January 15th, the more you spend, the more extra bonus points you earn. Spend $1,500, earn 2,000 bonus points. Spend $3,000, get 5,000 bonus points. So jumpstart the holidays with Advantage Visa. Some restrictions apply. Go to AdvantageFCU.org for details. Membership subject to eligibility. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, this is Joe Santani from the radio show Medicare U. Join me along with my partner Andrea Zaweski from T65 and Beyond every week as we explore the ins and outs of Medicare. We're your healthcare translators. If you're 65 or will be soon, you'll need this important Medicare information for the best coverage, best health, and best price. Medicare U, Tuesdays at 7:30 and Sundays at 1 on the WYSL stations.
WYSL. Dispatch Custom Milling in East Rochester carries metal or steel cutting blades, Lennox, Sterling, and MK Morse bandsaw blades from 1/4 inch wide to 2 inches wide, with many in stock. Sharpening service available. Visit dispatchcustommilling.com.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery offers a great selection of specialty pizzas, including dill pickle. With fresh dill pickles made in Avon, regular and gluten-free, call 226-9575. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Bob Savage with us. And, here's a small excerpt from this article that I think is worth reading before we talk about, specifically strategies to shape and mold a population. This is obviously directed towards coronavirus, but it shouldn't be just coronavirus. We should be thinking about this with all aspects. So it says here, it's time to ask ourselves some very pressing questions. Is it reasonable to expect government to eliminate all infection and all death? They've proven they cannot. Yet we keep relinquishing more and more freedoms and liberties because they claim doing so will keep everyone safer. It's an enticing lie, but a lie nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a recurring lie, too. Because they get us to just kind of what I will characterize as a ratcheting effect. So what happens is you have the corona outbreak some months ago. And what happens? Well, we have to wear masks. We're supposed to wear masks. We're supposed to social distance. And then, once we flatten the curve, does this sound familiar? We're supposed to flatten the curve because we don't want to overwhelm hospital emergency rooms. So everybody goes nuts. And here in New York State, we incur the expense of tens of thousands of ventilators, even though the efficacy of using a ventilator against COVID is in most cases not indicated, and in some cases is dangerous to some patients. And, we have to make sure that people who have heart conditions or who have cancer or who have other, serious conditions, we sideline them because we don't want to have to overload the emergency rooms in the hospitals. Well, then the COVID cases failed to materialize in the hospitals. Like in our home county here of Livingston County, I think we had 2 hospitalizations in a county of 66,000 people. We've had a total of, I think it's now 9 deaths in the county since the outbreak began. And in that, in the interim, what we've done is we've lost hundreds of businesses. We've put kids through, school kids through all kinds of trauma because they're not able to socialize, they're not able to play sports, they're not able to have normal activities. The suicides from the loss of employment and income losses and everything else. We've imposed widespread universal poverty to some degree on almost everybody, all as a result of arbitrary and highly questionable edicts that come down from the state in increasing numbers. Gretchen Whitmer, who is the governor of Michigan, has literally issued hundreds of executive orders about COVID up there. She was upbraided by her own Supreme Court for exceeding her authority.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more of this as it goes on because nothing is loosening up. Things are getting tighter and tighter, and some people might say, well, what do you mean? We're in phase 4. Yeah, remember when phase 4 was supposed to be back to normal?
Yeah,
and
phase 4 is everything's back open again. No, it's not.
Yeah. And instead, what we're hearing from elected officials is this is the new normal. Not back to normal. This is the new normal.
Saw a great lawn sign the other day. No new normal. Yeah, I don't want a new normal either. What I want is normal. We don't need a new normal. The old normal was perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to talk about these strategies to shape and mold a population. This is a chart of correction or coercion by Professor Albert Biderman. And I want you guys to hear this and just ask yourself, has the government been doing this? Is this something that's been happening? So first one on the list, isolation techniques. Well, what do we have? We have quarantines, social distancing, isolation from loved ones, solitary confinement. Essentially, is what we have.
And masks. You don't discount masks because you don't see people's faces with the masks. All you see are their eyes. Very difficult to judge, facial expressions and intent of someone. So it's definitely a distancing fulcrum.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been doing interviews, where I'm in the process of hiring one or two more employees. I've been doing interviews, and I tell you what, when somebody answers a question, especially a hard technical question, and you can't see their face, you can't tell if they're stressing, you can't tell what's going on. I mean, you can see some inflection in their eyes, you can see a little bit, but with a mask on, it's making interviewing extremely difficult to see, what is that person really thinking and how are they answering this question? Yeah, no, the masks are making it very difficult.
It's
Absolutely.
very interesting. I don't know if you've been in person in a bank lately, but we go to our local branch here and transact business almost on a daily basis. Lots of times we do the drive-through, but sometimes we go indoors. Lots of times because the ladies in there like to see Alfie, so I bring Alfie the sheepdog in.
Oh, there you go.
But part of the training to be a customer service representative in financial institutions is to look for the potential of holdups, to be vigilant for that.
Sure.
And think about the logic of entering a financial institution wearing a mask. I mean, does that strike anybody as a tad illogical?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things where is what it is.
Right.
The regulations there, it's in place. Now, I wonder if insurance has gone up because of that.
Why do criminals wear masks when they go to when they pull a heist? Why do they wear ski masks? Or just, the Lone Ranger type masks that we wear for COVID purposes? It's to conceal your identity and make you harder to ID, even with video. And this is something that we're hearing repeatedly from retail outlets now, is that their surveillance systems are basically rendered worthless because nobody can identify perps that come into the store to hold it up or to try to shoplift.
Yeah, no, definitely. The next item on this chart here is monopolization of perception. And there are so many ways that this has been happening, not just in politics, but throughout, the COVID response. Monopolizing the 24/7 news cycle, censoring any type of view that is opposite or differing, creating barren environments by shutting down bars, gyms, restaurants. All my social media accounts got shut down. My private Facebook account, my Instagram accounts, which are also, Instagram is owned by Facebook, and thousands of other people have gone through this, where if they post something that goes against the majority view or the view that's being currently accepted, their posts may get taken down, their accounts might get disabled, they might go into some sort of ban, and people are now in a situation where they're seeking sanctuary just to have open speech. So we certainly have monopolization of perception as well.
Yeah, and again, it's all part and parcel of the curtailment of freedoms based upon this alleged emergency. The CDC released the data last week or the week before, I can't remember which, showing that hospitalizations and deaths from COVID are flatlining. There's no increase. And all these, these hysterical news media accounts that you're hearing about, 80,000 new cases here and 100,000 new cases there. What they mean by cases, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. That means positive tests for the virus. That does not mean that 80,000 people are sick or that are even symptomatic. What's going on now is this new narrative where the media, in lockstep with government, which wants to keep this shutdown going, is reporting cases which are in fact highly sensitized testing, positive testing for COVID-19 that just shows that you've been exposed to it. Doesn't mean that you're sick or that you're going to get anybody else sick, that you are transmissible or that you're symptomatic at all. In most cases. In some cases, sure. But look, at the end of the day, where are we headed with this whole thing? This is a virus that has a 99.9% survival rate, except among, elderly and vulnerable persons. And even in those cases, highly survivable. Maybe not 99.9%, but probably, I would imagine, numbers comparable to garden variety flu.
Yeah. The next one here on this list, before we cut to break, is degradation techniques.
Degradation?
Yep. Berating people, shaming people, maybe even physically attacking them. People who are not wearing masks or aren't social distancing or choosing some amount of freedom over fear. Man, we've got a lot of that happening right now. And don't get me wrong, I understand there is responsibility to be had here. And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from the break. I've got a few more of these here for you. And we're going to switch to break. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
We send a shout out down the network line to our fine affiliates, WACK in Newark, New York, and Wayne County, 1420 AM, 96.9 FM, and The Patriot in Elmira, Corning, Tioga, PA, LCS 1230 AM, 1450 AM, 103.3 FM, and 106.9. We'll be back with more Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Bob Savage with us, and what we're doing is we're discussing Professor Albert Biderman's chart of coercion, and it's things used to shape and mold a population. We covered the first few. If you missed it, head on over to YouTube, search Andrew C. Hollister, click on the link there. You'll be able to see the first part of the show. And the last thing we left up on is degradation techniques. You know, berating, shaming people, maybe physically attacking them, you know, and specifically people who are not complying, whether that's wearing masks, social distancing, choosing some sort of freedom over fear. And I will put this in here as well. Wearing a mask, especially around a high-risk individual, is a great, wonderful thing. And I think that you should. I personally choose to do that. I don't think that we need government to tell us to do this. In fact, I think most people genuinely care about other people. And in a high-risk situation, I think that they're going to choose to do that, or find a way to social distance, or find a way to be safe. And, you know, what's happening is people have created safe situations for themselves, whether at home or out in public. You know, I see people wearing masks outdoors in the woods by themselves, or walking down the streets by themselves,
or driving a car by themselves. That's the one that kills me.
Yeah, you know, and here's the thing. If these people just forgot that they're wearing their mask because they're used to it, so, you know, great, that's fine. But if they're wearing a mask by themselves in their vehicle because the media cycle and elected officials have made them terrified to act in any other sort of way, that's where I see the problem.
Yeah, and I also think that there's fear of of being stigmatized. I think people are afraid of the reaction of other persons, known and unknown, to their not wearing a mask, even in a ridiculous environment like a closed car with a ventilation system where you're driving alone.
Yeah. So it's these things that people are doing. They're taking action based on fear instead of actual science and data, which, to be honest, goes back to monopolization of perception, because science is becoming different for everyone. You know, people are choosing to believe different forms of science based on their political views instead of just based on science.
Well,
and that's a problem.
By the way, I think we also need to address the media has encouraged this, but the politicians started it, and that is the notion of science as being some kind of a static, immutable truth. Science is a journey. Science is always in motion. Science is always evolving. Science is always changing to the next higher plane of knowledge and appreciation of what the reality is that we're researching here. It's not, okay, here's the science, and anybody who disagrees with this or anybody who wants to modify it or interpret it whatsoever is to be stigmatized, is to be ostracized, and as you say, isolated. That's not what science is. Science is always changing.
Yeah. And, you know, a great example of this is AIDS. When AIDS was first discovered, they actually thought it could be airborne. They had no idea. They didn't know how people were getting sick. They didn't know where the infection was coming from. They did not know. And there was a consideration, a theory that maybe this was airborne. And I think, if I recall, it was actually discovered in a hospital with infected blood that had been donated. But they shut down. They didn't know what was going on, and they were worried maybe it was airborne. And then they learned about it, and their perceptions and the facts that they had at that time had changed. And now, you know, where we are today, we know a lot about AIDS and how it spreads. And it's no different than any other piece of science, any other bit of sickness. we should never be in a situation where we think that we just know everything and all science we know is fact, because stuff comes out every day that proves it wrong.
Exactly. That's right. Just remember, there's only two things that are universal: hydrogen and stupidity.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say death and taxes.
Well, that too.
So let me run through some of these other ones here, because I think you're going to see them constantly throughout your day. Induced stability. This idea of being forced to stay home and not being able to be out and socialize. I mean, in the city of Rochester, we have mandated quarantine and isolation with a curfew that you can't have more than 5 or 10 people in your home after 11 p.m. Like these sort of things are just not relevant to protecting people's health at all. Yet government has chosen to do this. Next one on the list, this one's pretty obvious. Threats. At what point in time will the government start coming in and suggesting that if you're not following appropriate government guidelines when it comes to coronavirus, maybe CPS should be taking away your children because you're putting their lives at risk? Or maybe if you don't want them to get the vaccine, are you putting their lives at risk? These sort of threats against noncompliance, things like fines, shutting down businesses, things that'll happen to you if you don't quarantine how the government wants you to. All of these things are just riddled with various threats of financial destruction to your life. Next one on the list is demonstrating omnipotence and omniscience. The world's been shut down, claiming scientific and medical authority, yet we're finding out, and Bob, to your point, the science is changing on a daily basis. New information is coming out every day. Yet when Cuomo and other elected officials put their executive orders into place and they shut down the economy, they're claiming they know exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, and that we are just blessed that they are our leaders.
Yeah, anytime science is used as a cudgel to try to enforce some kind of power grab, it's no longer science. Now it's being used as a prop, and now its original meaning and intent is completely subverted, if not totally neutralized. Science is not to be used for that. Science is to be used to enhance awareness and increase understanding. Science kind of propels itself along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've only got 2 more left. I'm going to go through them quick because I know we're almost at the end here. Enforcing trivial demands. Examples of that are you go to a store or the bank with family members. They ask you to stand 6 feet apart, even though you live in the same house, you rode together in the same car, or you walk through a restaurant with a mask on just so that when you sit down, you take it off. Some of these things are just small things that you're being asked to do that do not make a difference. That's enforcing trivial demands. And then the very last one is occasional indulgence. And that can be things like opening up restaurants, but only to a certain capacity. Or, you can go to this place, but only at certain times, enforcing a curfew that says you can't be out of your home after a certain time. So allowing a little bit of freedom, but then taking it back again. So you're used to constantly having it taken away again and again. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Radio Free New York. We'll be back, same time, same place, tomorrow.